Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's exciting to see all your faces after so long. I think since September. So for the new ones who have never joined the 𝗙𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 program, my name is Frieda 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝗔𝗶𝗄𝗏. I'm the founder of 𝗙𝗵𝗶𝗏, and it's an entrepreneurship and financing platform. And we primarily focus on entrepreneurs in Africa, and we lead them together with diaspora entrepreneurs. So I think that's it for me. I think I'm connected with most of you on LinkedIn or other networks. So we will continue getting to know each other. Just to get started, I think we got the output. I think everyone has a mute. I hope everyone is muted because otherwise we keep getting distractions of noise.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that when you want to ask a question, I'd like you to type them on the chat. And mostly type them at the end of the presentation, because then it doesn't allow us to have so many questions or long stories, and you can keep it short. So today we have a few people. I don't think they are all new faces. We have Jolene 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗶𝗽𝗀, and she is the diaspora coordinator at IOM. We have 𝗏𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗏𝗀, who most of you know. He was our superior trainer for the 𝗙𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 program. He specializes on entrepreneurship, new entrepreneurship models, and business model canvas. Yeah, and then we have 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝗶𝗏𝗶𝗏, I don't know if he's in. And 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝗶𝗏 is the investment officer for Africa at 𝗙𝗂𝗐𝗔𝗏. I think most of you know 𝗙𝗂𝗐𝗔𝗏's investment management from 𝗙𝗂𝗐𝗔 Bank. But I'm sure he will tell you more about himself when he starts to present. And now I'm going to give the floor to Jolene, who will give us a background about the 𝗙𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗏 program. It's an entrepreneurship program for the diaspora. So, Jolene, welcome, and let's hear from you.
Okay, so hello everyone. I think most of you know me already, but we have a few external guests also today. So let me quickly introduce, or maybe I have to also inform you that we are actually recording this session for people who cannot attend. So I hope you don't have any issues with this. If not, just let us know, or you can put your camera also off if you don't want to show on the recording. So my name is Dorien de Ketelen. I work at IOM on a program called Entrepreneurship by Diaspora for Development. Maybe a few words about IOM. IOM, it's the UN Agency for Migration. We have different types of programs, but our main mission is to manage migration to the benefits of all. That means for the migrant, of course, but also for the receiving country of the migrants and the country of origin. We have an office in the Netherlands where we deal with different types of programming, but also we have quite important projects on diaspora engagements where we try to involve people with a migration background to help in the development of their country of origin. And so one of these programs is focused on entrepreneurship, and that's why we're here today. We started a program in 2018 focusing on Ghana and Ethiopia. So we're actually supporting a group of selected the ones that you can see on the screen, or most of them, are participants from our program. We have selected them based on their business ideas for, businesses that they want to set up in Ghana and Ethiopia. We've set up a support program ranging from a training that we did before with CD, and also individual mentoring by our project partner, which is called PUM, the Netherlands Senior Advisors. We also, part of this program, we are also organizing a Go and See mission to Ghana and Ethiopia for a group of 10 entrepreneurs. We had actually scheduled this for March and April, but unfortunately, due to the current situation of COVID-19, we had to postpone it, and I hope it will be, or we will be able to schedule it for the fall. And this series of webinars, we did not originally intend to host this. We were thinking more of organizing a conference on the topic of access to finance and investor readiness, because we know that's something that all entrepreneurs struggle with. So it's good to give some insights and some tips by inviting experts on how and where you can potentially find funding. So this is the first one of a series of 6. We will have one webinar each week where we will invite different speakers. Today is the first. The first 3 will focus more on opportunities that exist in the Netherlands, but then the last 3 will focus more on the African perspective. So we hope that by giving you different types of information and tools and tips, that it will be helpful for all of you. You're all entrepreneurs to tap on the right door. So that's a bit the idea of the webinars. Today, after this session, or tomorrow, you will find on our website again the link for the next week, which will be on Wednesday this time. So I hope to keep you interested, and I hope that you will participate to each session. So I will give the floor now back to Frieda.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jolene, for the brief. I mean, for the new people, you'll get to know Jolene as we proceed. And now I think we'll get onto the serious business. And soon, as a very nice game for us, I think it will, stimulate us and, bring us back to the mood and entrepreneurship. So I'm going to give Toon the floor to tell us how the game will go. Thank you very much, Toon.
All right, thank you, Frieda, and thank you, Doreen, for being here. And guys, I'm looking good to see you.
Yeah.
Are we doing well?
Yes.
Yes. You have been a great month, right? Yeah. Well, as an entrepreneur, you have to find your all new ways in this time. So Frieda said we start with the serious thing, and she asked me how can we do a short summary of this intense 4 days course that we did in October. So I told you, the Kahoot game? That means that I'm going to present you some questions and you will answer me through your telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, can you grab your telephone right now? And yeah, go to a web page and type in kahoot.it. I'm going to share my screen now so you can see that. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, you can. All right. So We do the classic form. We're not doing a team form. We are with, so if you go to a website in your telephone, you put in 𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 And then you see that you can so that you can put in this number in the place where it should be. So the number is 5234369. Yes, there we have 1, there we have 3. All right, you find your way. That's great. Now we wait for the other 20, I guess. So you can see me, you can see this. All right, we've got 5 players. You can put in any name you want. We cannot track you. You're totally anonymous. All right. So what I want you to do when we start is I guide you through the questions. And when you want to answer, you answer in your telephone. So you see the questions on the screen of the computer, and you answer your questions through the telephone. 13 players, great, we're getting somewhere. So how much do we need more, Doreen? We have.
I think we're in total for now we're 25, so we're still missing some. But for me, it took some time before it actually appeared.
All right. So we start with 13. No, we just had. Royal has left the game. I think this is going to be it, Doreen. Do you think?
Okay, I think you can go ahead with the first question.
Yeah. All right. Is everyone ready? Let's start. Oh, we got one more expert. Thank you. Great to be there. All right. So 16. Smart Elephant, welcome. All right. If you join in later, that's not a big problem. You can just join in from the questions. Yeah, to make it fun, if you answer fast, then your points will be higher. So it's a little game. Ready? All right, we start with a very simple poll. Hi there, everyone.
Nice group photo.
Yeah. So please tell me who you are. My name is 𝗏𝘂𝘶𝗵𝗏, and I've been the teacher of the course. You can say if you have participated or startup phase, you can give multiple questions, multiple answers. And we go through the course. Means we do the business model canvas, we do some marketing, do management development, and with pitching. All right, we've got 6 answers. Ladies and gentlemen, the time goes fast. This is not a big problem, but so that means that you have to put in the button before the time ends, and you see the time on the left. So what we have in this group, the participated in the course, no one operates as yet in Africa, and some is looking for finance. Okay, that's give me a little bit feeling. Now we know how it works, and we start with the next question, and that means there's a little bit more content. It's a quiz. You can only give one answer. And what does BMC stand for? It's short for? Yes, I have 7 answers. You still have 10 seconds. Choice, red, yellow, green, or blue. 4 seconds, be fast. Yes, I got 13 answers. Great. Everyone has been watching. Most of you. There's one saying business making canvas. That's not right. It's business model canvas.
Yeah.
And so that means 𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗏. Yeah, you're very quick. So the second question or the third question is a puzzle. You have to put it in proper order. What is the proper order to use a business model canvas? Now you drag with your finger the right color to the first place. So what is the first thing that you do when you do start a business model canvas? Is that create a value proposition, or is that define the customer? That honey up the relationship? Or put them in the right order that you think that the best way to look at a business model canvas. 2 seconds. Yeah, time is up. Time is up. All right. This was a difficult, right? So the business model canvas always starts on defining the customer segment, guys. This customer segments, who is it that I'm doing my business for? And if I know who my business is doing for, then I can create value. Then I know his pains and gains, and I can create value. When I know how I can create value, I know how to honey up my customer relationship, because I can bring the value to the customers. And making that, I need partners. So the fourth thing to do is look for your partners. All right, 𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗏 stands up. Okay, when you make an assumption that didn't match the reality, guys, what do you not do? So you made an assumption in your business model canvas, and that assumption was wrong. So what's the next thing that you don't do? What you don't do is one of these 4 things. You've got 4 seconds. It's going fast now. So what you don't do. So what you don't do is you stop doing your business. Well, guys, when you make a wrong assumption, it's not the end of the world. It's just that you get a lot of feedback from a lot of people. You ask them, why not? Why didn't it happen? And you can pivot your model to something else that does match. I see that a lot of people say that. All right, so who scored? Groovy Swam, you're going up now. So that means the next question going up. It is just a reminder. So let's listen now.
I don't hear sound.
No, me too.
You don't? Okay. I'll do a repeat on what they are saying. So these 9 blocks, they are doing the business model canvas, and you can use them with a startup, but you can also use them in your business when you want to look at it on a different level again. So you have to restructure the 9 blocks, and you can make the business model canvas. To design and invent new business. So let's go through 9. These are the people and organizations that really has problems. They have gains and they have pains. What are they? This is the value proposition that you bring. That you can help them. That the channel brings the value that you created to the customers. That's the physical channel. Well, or the offline. There's the customer relationship. Brings the feeling, the heart of value proposition. And that together brings up your revenue stream. How do you get your money? First, you need resources for that. Those are the most important ethics that you have. Then there's this big to-do list. What can you do to make it? No one can do it on their own. Part, but whether it's really cost you things.
Toon, we cannot hear you very well. I think we have to do something.
Yeah. It's difficult to follow.
It was difficult to follow. All right, but now you can hear me well again?
Yeah, now it's better. I think you have to stop this video.
All right. Okay, so that was a bad thing to use. Let's go then to the next page, and that is false or true. This was used in the class, and it is correct quoted. Is it false or true? Was this used in the class, and is it correct quoted? Yes or no?
This is so.
If you think this was used and this is good, then you say true.
Yeah.
If you say this is false, then you put in the red button, and time is up. We did use it in the first course. Very well. 10 put very great attendance to that. And that makes that Groovy is still on top. Next question. It's a poll again. So let me know what your financial model is. Is your financial model? Is it cost price? Organizational price. What is your model? Your financial model. No. Right. And sorry, Frieda, what do you say?
No, I'm saying I think somebody has their mic not muted.
Okay, yeah, all the mics.
That's why we have.
Please mute the mic. All right, we're I think more than halfway through. Cost price, more of them, organizational priced, and one of them is market priced. Okay, great. Another quiz. Do you know who 𝗙𝗂𝗂𝗏 was? And this is also a video with sound, but nevertheless, just tell me who he was. You got 20 seconds. Right. Did you remember him? Oh, I'm curious. You've got 4 more seconds. Did you remember the guy? The very nice story. He built a restaurant in Ghana. Yeah, great. 7 of you paid attention and still remembered. And who is on number 1? Nimble. You're the number 1 now. Great. Go ahead, please. All right. I put you a little bit quiet. Okay, which topic are related to the business planning? When you make your business plan, what 3 topics, you can do 3, what 3 topics will be in the business planning? What 3 topics will be in the business planning? So, and this Excel sheet, this overview. Of course, the accessor has nothing to do with it, the investor. And that means that we have a score. Oh, we're changing position fast now. Next. All right, investors only look to the financials. So if they only look to the financials, guys, yes or no? Present it to everyone. So what do you remember about the presentation? Yeah, this was going fast, man. It's false. Of course, everything you do is financial related, but they mostly look at who you are, guys. If you know your business and if you can tell about it. Next question. So put the thing in the right order before making a sales pitch. The first thing that you think of is, and this is a male customer, sorry for all the females, but this is a male customer, so what do you think about him? We're going to make a sales pitch. What is the right order? You got 10 seconds, it's going fast. Yep, something. Oh, just a little. So it was about Aida. Huh? So is he aware of his problem? Is he interested in any solution and wants to pay for that? Does he want my solution? And then can we make a deal? Aida. That's the proper order. Next. Okay, it's a poll again. It's not for the points. So please tell me what your leadership is. This is presented also in the course. Now I'd like to know what your kind of leadership is. Is it totally boss-centered or is it totally subordinate-centered or something between it? You the boss or let your team work? Mostly subordinate-centered. Great, guys. So you trust in your team. You let them do the work, but you still want to have something in control. That looked great. Next. So true or false? David Beckett helped us creating a good pitch. Yes or no? Did he create a good pitch? This is David Beckett. Yes, great. You followed all the links. So was it any good to you? They're still open, all the links. Great. Super. Now, well, almost there. A good pitch. You can do more than one question. A good pitch says everything you want to say, says everything they want to hear. It's connect making. It's always in English. You can choose more than one answer. Still have 5 seconds, so it's going fast. What is your answer? Just stick on the screen. All right, guys. Yeah, of course, you can do it in every language that you can. So that's totally correct. And now it's about what they want to hear. It's not what you want to say. It's what they want to hear. And if you prepared well enough, that should all equal up. But it's true. It's about contact making. Who are you? Who am I? Can we make contact? We practice that as well. So the last question, guys. The last question. Groovy now is on top. The smallest recap for today. Be good and tell about it. Is this false or is this true? So be good, know your business model very well, and very well tell about it to any investor. That's the key thing about this course. Know your business model, finance, marketing. Yeah, it was the smallest recap I could think. So know your business model, know everything, every 9 blocks, and when you do that from left to right under, forth, and you can tell about it very easy, you can pitch it, then you can talk to the investors. That's the most readiness to be. All right. So who's on podium? Jofi, number 3. Swift Wolf, number 2, and number 1 is, there he is. Thank you very much. Yeah. It's just for fun, guys. Let me get a little bit of feedback. Think about this. We ended the course every time with a little bit of feedback. It's nice to hear. And yeah, I think the feedback is now coming into the in your screen. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and there you are back again. You liked it? Yeah, right, super. All right. And now I have to come back. Is Frieda still here in the line? No.
Until now, I wasn't accepted. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Until
Yes,
now,
Alfred.
I was not yet accepted, so I couldn't take part.
But I saw you under the participants since the beginning. That's strange, because normally people can go in immediately. It's not like I have to accept you. But it's good that we see you now. We can also see Alem that I haven't seen before.
So welcome everyone who is new. Well, and the recap of the course, I can recap that, and that is be good and tell about it. So if you might have any question, we're with a small group. Otherwise, Frieda, can I give you the role of the journalist, please? So what did you find out in this group?
Thank you very much, Sun. And from the numbers, it shows people still have fresh minds regarding the training. But I can imagine people who never attended the training still have a disconnect. But what Sun was trying to do in a nutshell is to summarize the business model canvas. So when you decide to do your business, what do you do? First, you look out, what's the problem that you want to solve, and who are the people affected, and those are your potential customers. And once you do that, then you really come up with your value proposition and define, these are the products that I'm going to provide. And then after that, of course, you need channels to either reach your customers, you need some partnerships, for distribution. You need to come up with the people who are the resources, the human resources. You need to come up with financing. So in summary, really, that's what the game was supposed to make us think before we welcome Sunday, because I guess you can't fundraise for what you don't have. You can't just, a lot of people call me up and they're like, Frieda, I need funding. And then I'm like, for what? Yeah. So you need to come from a business idea to preparing your business case, to identifying your potential customers, and figuring out everything really. And I think as Kari is going to explain, just having a business plan is not enough. Yeah, you need to take baby steps. And so I'm not going to preempt what Sunny is going to say, but Sunny is very experienced also with business development. He has over 10 years experience. He has over 10 years experience in structured finance in banking, and also I think almost a similar term in impact investing. He also lectures part-time at CIS in Utrecht and Maastricht universities. And currently he is the investment manager for Africa at Readiness. So, Sunny, if you're with us, I'm going to give you the floor to present to us what you have in terms of, fundraising tips and investment readiness. Thank you. Welcome.
Frieda, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. It's really a pleasure to actually have the opportunity to engage with everybody else. But firstly, can everybody hear me okay? Just
Yes.
first.
Yes, very well.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. And I think, like, you know, most of the thing that you touch on is very, very, very important because, you know, most of the time entrepreneurs are looking to raise money and everybody talks about access to finance being the biggest problem. But I think it is not really access to finance which is the problem. It is the alignment of the underlying entrepreneurs' activities to where they're trying to raise the funding, which is the problem. There's always a misalignment between the entrepreneur and the type of institution that they're actually trying to raise money from. So hopefully we're going to go through this short presentation. We can give some color onto how, you know, we can actually better target this. So are we ready to go through the presentation? Because we only got 15 minutes. So I just want to try and, like, you know, get through it to try and make this more engaging. Yay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen right now. Share screen. Can you see the presentation?
No.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, perfect. Can you see it? Is it on?
No.
I
don't see anything.
Okay, is anybody?
We can see it, Alfred, so I don't know if the problem is yours.
Yeah, I can see it.
Can you all see it, or who is missing it? How many are missing it? Have you?
I can see it, but only the screen is very small.
Okay.
So maybe that you can put it on.
That's nice, probably.
I see, yeah, 𝗙𝘂𝗿𝗄𝘄 bank.
Yes.
You are using two screens, right?
Yes. Can you?
Yes. And we can see both screens.
Oh, right. Okay. So what I need to do is that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it better?
Yes, now it's good.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm technologically inept. So I'm glad that we're back onto square one. Why does it keep shutting off? Okay. Now, what we're going to do is that we're just quickly going to go through access to finance and see how we can actually target financial institutions. Of course, sorry, I'm going to leave this here. My name is 𝗙𝘂𝗻𝗿𝗂𝗶𝗶. I mean, I'll leave this here for you guys to have a look at later on. And please feel free, if, like, you know, you want to discuss any of these things, feel free to leave your contact details with Frieda, and I'll be more than happy to chat to you on any of those above, okay? This is not about me, it's about you guys, so I'm just going to dive straight into the presentation.
Okay.
Now,
Sorry, I see again two screens.
Two small screens, right?
Yeah, two small screens. Yeah,
What?
this one and this one then should be full screen.
what I'm going to do is once that. Sorry, I'm so sorry about this. I do apologize.
No, it's fine.
So just to
Okay.
say also to all the ones who are listening that we will share the presentation also later, and so it's not so bad if we cannot read everything right now.
Why I hate technology. Is it better? Is it better?
Now we have a
No.
21.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Absolutely apologize for this. And
Yeah,
I'm
we have
definitely.
I think this is fine.
It is better
Yeah.
right now.
I
Okay.
think this is how it's going to be. So we just have to go through with it because one is small and one is, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, the thing is, I want to take the animation away because what happens is that it's, you know what? Okay. Is it better?
Just 1 little moment. Please.
Is it better now?
Now it's good. It's perfect.
Now it's good.
Okay, perfect. I've taken the other screen out, so let's go through it as that. I really apologize for this, but if everybody can hear me now, one of the main things that we have to think about earlier on that we talked about is trying to find an alignment between what you are doing and the type of investor that you're actually looking for. Now, one of the most important things when you're going to raise funding is that you have got to look at the criteria alignment, okay? Investors, for example, if my interest is in healthcare, I'm not going to invest in an agricultural company. It is very, very important to understand what those investors actually want to invest in, because it will save you so much time. Also understand the investment process that the company, the investor actually look at. Even with a normal bank, there is an investment process which actually touches upon the timing of that type of investment and whether you can actually wait for such an investment. Investment products are also quite critical. What are you looking for? What do I need this money for? Because if you know the type of investor to approach, if you understand the investment process and you understand what you need, it is so much easier to actually get directly engage with the investor. Now, when I talk about investment products, I'm talking about your grants, your debt, and all of those things that people go and ask for. So before you go there, just think about what you need as an organization. The most important thing is trying to understand the investor return expectation. If you go to a bank, they're going to ask for interest. Can my cash flow support that interest? If you go to a bank with the knowledge that your cash flow cannot support that interest, you will not get the money. So there's most of the time, the idea is that the investment is there, but the underlying entrepreneur is actually looking at the investment from the wrong investor. Now, to be investor ready, as a company, you got to understand your stage of growth. As a startup, you know you cannot go to certain investors to raise money. It is very, very important to know that. You got to understand your business strength, i.e. your market, your product, your competition. These are the things that you yourself learn in the business ready programs that you all go to. Those things you have to know. You got to know how much money you need. And of course, your strategic document, which is your business plan, your pitch document, or whatever document that you need to fill in for the investor. In doing so, that is what creates the alignment. So before you think about raising funding, you have to understand this element. If you have an alignment in this element, I kid you not, the funding raising process does not take long at all. Does anybody have any questions so far? No.
No.
Now we're gonna just quickly look at I'm just gonna give you just quickly look at the investment universe. What do we mean by the investment universe? Well, if you look at investment, there's different types of investors. There's foundations, there's family offices, there's retail companies, there's corporations. All of these different type of investors have different return expectations. Now, for a company, if I know that I'm looking for debt, by looking at where I'm going to raise the funding, I will understand whether my ability to pay interest or pay the return on equity that investors are looking for align. That has already saved you 3 months of work. The next stage is that you got to understand where this money is going to come from. Is it coming from their corporate CSR? Is it coming from a developmental bank, social impact network? By understanding where this money is coming from, it also almost consolidates the type of kind of information that you firstly need to understand and who to approach. The next part is like we talked about this, what type of instruments are you looking for? Now, by looking at this slide, let me take us, I'm a social entrepreneur and I've just started selling and I need money in order to build a new factory. Well, if I need money to build a new factory, I know that I need to go to institutional investors. Now, institutional investors, I know that they invest through traditional banks. To build a factory, I know that I need, the kind of investment I need is debt, because the factory can actually pay back itself through the additional income I'm going to get. Already, I know that I'm going directly to an institutional bank or a developmental bank to raise this money, and I know what their expectations are because I understand the commercial return expectation. Once you know this, it is much, much easier to approach to decide where to go and raise the money. I'll give you an example of a developmental bank, for example. You got to when you decide, okay, I'm going to raise it from a developmental bank or from an institutional bank, first thing you got to look at is who are they? And then for me, I call it the University of Google. Google can give you so many answers. It's unbelievable because there's so many of them out there. The second thing that you have to look for is what do they offer? If you look at the developmental bank, they offer working capital loans, asset finance loans, and we are looking, in our example, we are looking to build a factory. It's asset finance loan, so we already know that they offer it. How much do they offer? You got to understand, okay, by going to how much do they offer? Is my factory more than $1 million? Okay, I fit in that bracket. If your factory is less than $1 million, then you know that you're already looking at the wrong institution already. What they expect, for a loan, they'll expect interest. For working capital facility, they'll expect fees. But actually understanding what they expect versus what you have to offer, the alignment is there. So now, if I'm a business, like we said before, looking to build a factory, and my factory is 1.2 million, I know exactly what is required of me. And ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the most critical part that people miss when it comes to access to funding, because they think that is the most difficult thing. It is the most difficult thing is because your requirement versus what and the institution that you're trying to approach, there is a misalignment. If we talk about the instruments used from investors, ladies and gentlemen, it's also quite important to know this. Because if I'm going to a financial institution, I'm not going to ask them, what can you give me? It's what I need. And in effect, by knowing that, okay, for my internal funding, I use my own personal assets and your retained income. But when I go and approach an investor, I can get grants, debt, loans, or sub-debt. Now, if you look at the example that I showed you before, you can tell which institutions actually provide this type of instruments. If you look at this presentation that I've shared with you, I've given you the different type of institutions and the different type of instruments that they actually offer. So it gives you an example. By knowing this, you already have most of your information to try and get money. Being investor ready is the most critical thing, because I'm an investor per se. These are the things that I look at when somebody sends me a proposal to look at it, or when an entrepreneur comes to me to say that they want to raise money. First thing I look for is that, does the criteria, my investment criteria, match this investment that is being proposed, or this request that is being proposed? If it does not match, I'll just put it away, because that means that you haven't done your homework. That is the first thing that investors look for. So in our discussion, when we talk about making sure that your activities align with the investor that you're looking to approach, it is absolutely important. The second thing they look at is market opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, I am one of those people who don't believe in the premise that access to finance is the most challenging thing. If you have a market, you don't need money, because that means that your product is capable of being absorbed into the market in order to pay for itself. So that means that for an entrepreneur, it is very, very important to understand that your product can be bought on the market. And that's what investors look for. Investors are just looking to plug the hole between when your product is being developed to a certain stage to when you can actually be able to finance your product by yourself. And that's where the idea of the optimum product margin comes in. Very important to actually make sure you have a basis to that. Entrepreneur is key. You as an individual, I do unfortunately have to let you know that at this stage of your business development, you have to lead, because the investor is investing in your ability to actually make sure you are able to unlock those bottlenecks when you face it. Because as a startup or as a developing company, you are going to face a lot of challenges. So as the entrepreneur, I look at the entrepreneur, or we look at the entrepreneur, it's like, if and when this challenge occurs, COVID-19, can the entrepreneur use their intuitiveness to actually ensure that the business survives. Entrepreneur for me is critical. Of course, the value proposition. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go through every one of it because we don't have time. But if you look at it, these are the 6 main things that investors look at when you approach them, whether they're a bank, they're impact investor, no matter what, this is what they look at. So just make sure that you have that in your mind. And by knowing what investors look for, it's much easier to understand who and what to present to them. That saves you about 3 months of fundraising. One of the questions that, this is a little bit long, so we're going to go through it quickly because I know that my time is running out, and Frieda, please feel free to stop me. But one of the most important things to understand is that you got to understand, do I need, and when you need market money. I've left this thing in the presentation for you as well, because then it will help you also go through it. But it's very, very important to understand when you need money. And when you go through this, you only need money if this money is going to bring enough return to pay back your investor. That is the only time you can actually go out to raise money. So if you go through this whole thing, whenever you see a yes, it's always got to do with, is this money that I'm bringing in going to generate enough cash flow to pay back my investor, unless it's a grant. Okay, so go through this. It's also in the presentation, and then we can actually discuss it if you have any questions at the end, or send it through me via email. Just one of the things that we also have to look at is that, where do the investors see value? Investors are not looking at what your company can do now. They are looking at what your company can do once the money goes in. So your milestones, your key milestones is very, very, very important, okay? It is absolutely critical for the investor to understand that in 3 years' time, the company will still be alive, because then my money is still good to go. The company is got to understand, like, is this, the investor is got to understand, is this company going to grow, or what is this money going to be used for? So understanding your key milestone is very, very important, because that's where your money is going to come from. It is absolutely critical. One of the things that I just want to go through with you quickly is that when you go through your investment ready course, they always talk to you about what your income statement, your balance sheet, and your cash flow is. As an investor, we look at 4 critical elements on your all of this financial statement. There's 3 critical elements that we look at in order to ensure that our money is going to be safe. We look at your net income, because what your net income does is that it is the accumulated performance that enables your business to actually grow. If you are not making income, that means that, of course, this business is definitely going to fall apart, not in the so near future. So we look at your net income, and this is the impact that it actually has on your balance sheet. The next thing we look at is your cash flow, because your cash flow is also quite critical to your asset formation. If you've got low cash flow and you are not making cash, and you are not making any income, this business might not survive. So whenever an investor looks at your 3 financial statements, these are the main elements that they're actually focusing on. So be able to explain it, able to understand what is happening on your net income and the impact that is having on your balance sheet, and how you want to fix that. Because investors will love to actually know that you know this. It's the same as when you look at your financial projections. Realism is very important. Realism is very, very important. We look at your revenue growth, your cost control, and your profitability, and your operational performance. So when they ask for your financial projections, these are the main things that they look for in order to understand that the business is going to remain a going concern. We're going to do one more, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. When you look at your cash flow, for example, when you send an investor your cash flow, one of the things that they actually they can see on your cash flow without you even asking for money is already how much money you need, because your cash flow should show it. The second thing is that without even telling them what you need the money for, your cash flow should show them what the money is for, because it's something that should be in your cash flow. So yet again, when we come back to why investors actually want to see your financials, they want to see whether the things that you're asking for versus the things that you're actually presenting in your financials actually make sense. And this discussion is more about what investors look at, because the whole thing is that I think from my experience, that's what entrepreneurs get wrong when they're asking for money. The money is there. It's just making sure you align what you're asking for versus what the investor needs to expect from your company. I just wanted to I'm going to leave this in here. And the last thing is that when earlier on we talked about how much money you need and what you need the money for. It is very, very important to know that, listen, to be honest, in the pre-startup stage, you cannot be asking for money of more than 150,000 euros, for example, because what are you going to use the money for? Feasibility studies should not be that much. So you got to be really smart on how much money you are looking for when you approach an investor, because they really, really actually know exactly what is required. So putting all of this together, ladies and gentlemen, by actually understanding this, it makes it much, much easier for you to actually approach investors on any of these elements. And I think I've run out of a lot of time. So Frieda, I'll leave it here to see whether anybody wants to ask any questions at all on this so far.
Thank you very much, Stanley. I think I will ask the participants to type their questions.
I think Frieda has a little bit of problem with her sound, but thank you so much, Stanley. This was very interesting, and I'm sure that the participants will eagerly read through all of the slides after this session. But I think what Frieda wants to say is, if you have a question, type it in the chat, and then we'll give you the word. I saw already one person raising hands, Alexandra. Maybe you can start with the first question.
Hi, Stanley. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. And you?
I'm fine. So I have just two questions. Cool. The one is with entrepreneurs who have invested a certain amount in their businesses. Do you recommend, because I normally recommend that they mention how much is their own cash to show that, you know, that they put skin on the table, and how to do that. And then the second question I have is about capital raising generally. Do you find that sometimes it's a problem if you've got crowdfunding or grant money, in that some people feel that there may be a concern about not paying back investors, that people have experienced of crowdfunding or crowdfunding?
Of course. I mean, yeah, thank you very much for that. I mean, you're absolutely right. The first thing that you have to mention is how much money you've invested in the company. It is absolutely critical, because even if you go to a bank and you want to raise debt, they're going to look at, you know, how much money is being put in already. So you putting in money is the first thing that should be leading when you're asking for money, because investors actually see that there is an alignment of interest and your commitment to the business. So that is definitely something you have to mention. And the second point is that with regards to the different type of instruments, we call it instrument like grants and crowdfunding that you have on your balance sheet, it really doesn't matter if you actually got the money for the right purpose. Let me give you an example. Grant funding is funding in order to develop a prototype, okay? Once you've developed a prototype, it becomes functional. You go to the market in order to raise money in order to monetize that prototype, okay? If I'm an investor and I come in and I see that you've used grant funding to develop a prototype, I would not have any problem with that at all. It's just that if that grant funding prevents the investor from actually being able to get their money back in the future, then they're going to have a problem with it. So to treat grants as you treat crowdfunding and everything like that is how easy is it for new investors to come in and out of my company. And from that point of view, it's much easier. And that's why I think it's so important to ask for the right money for the right purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stanley. So I will read the questions so that we go quickly. And your next question is, does 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏 operate in Ghana?
Yes, 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏 actually operates in Ghana, and the fact that I'm Ghanaian, I spend almost every month in Ghana. So we do operate in Ghana, yes, and I'm there every day. My mom and my grandmom are there, so I try to get there as much as possible.
Okay. Do we have another question? Because the chat has no questions.
I saw an hand up.
Yeah, I think Amare wants to ask a question, so let's give him the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. I have one question. You mentioned that our business plan need to be fine-tuned in order to get funded from donors. Does this mean that our business plan should be donor-driven rather than, driven by my own mission? The second one is, if we fine-tune, our business plan according to the interests of, the donors. For example, I should apply, for 3 or 4, financial institutions, before I get, one.
Mm-hmm.
So does this mean, should I fine-tune, my business plan in order to meet their interests? So if it is true, then I'm going to lose, by the end of the time, I'm going to lose the mission, the values, and other content of my business plan. So these are my questions. Thank you.
And you see, and that is, I think this is a perfect example of what I was talking about, because if you think about it, when we talk about the different type of documentations that you need to approach investors, you don't go to a donor foundation with a business plan. They will naturally send you an application document which you fill it in, and then if they want to see more about your business, they'll ask you for a business description. Business plans are for when you're trying to raise money from investors. So you do not fine-tune your business plan for donor grants, because business plans are there for investments, because of the mere fact that investors look at the business plan and try to understand how strong the business is from the elements that you put in there. A foundation will be looking at the type of program that you're running that aligns to their foundational grant given. So they don't expect a business plan, but a much more thorough work on your impact more. So, and I think this is also a prime example of what I'm talking about in terms of the misalignment between what the expectation of the investor versus what they are receiving from entrepreneurs. So no, I'm not asking you to fine-tune your business plan for donations, no. Your business plan is for fundraising from investors. Every single foundation will give you a format in which they want you to present them with an information. And if you want, you can copy and paste elements of your business plan into that application document.
Thank you very much, Stanley. I have a lot of questions about 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏. So a lot of people are asking, do you give grants? And if people can make applications in the Netherlands, or they have to apply in Ghana? Maybe answer the question.
Yeah, of course. Sitting at 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏 right now, unfortunately, 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏 is a pure commercial bank. We are a pure impact commercial bank, which means that we don't give grants. But as I said before, the University of Google is an amazing tool, because to be honest, there's so many organizations that are, and there's list of organizations that actually give grants and give different financial institutions. When going back to the presentation, depending on what you're looking for, you have to identify which investor does that. So now, for example, somebody asking me, do we give grants? That means that they haven't done their homework. And that's why you don't want to waste your time on things like that. It is so important to use the internet to actually identify which organizations provide the type of funding that you're looking for. But 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏 does work in most African countries. We work in Ethiopia, but we are a purely financial-driven institution that invests in agriculture, banking, and renewable energy. So if you have an entity that is in banking, renewable energy, or agriculture, there's a criteria alignment, and then we can start talking.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. There's a lot of questions about the funding organizations in Ethiopia, but I'm going to leave that to, I think, our third or fourth webinar, because you're going to explore country-specific solutions. So there's also another question, you know, about if you register businesses in the Netherlands, if it gives you a to getting financing here. And I mean, from my experience, it depends really on who your target investor is. And at least for the current group, the 𝗙𝗂𝗶𝗶 group, next week we are going to have someone who is familiar with the LBO subsidies, who can let us know really how they work, if you need to register a business or not. But Stanley, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, I think, like, to be honest, it depends how much money you have, because it is also a costly exercise. Because don't forget, registering a company here means that, like, you know, you also have to abide by 2 different type of legislation. Does it make it easier? Not really. Not really, because I really do think that, you know, you registering a company from the Netherlands, unless you have a Dutch partner, then it makes it a different relevance. But you being in, let's say, Ghana, and just having a registered business in the Netherlands to attract funding does not really solve that transparency issue at all. So if I were you, I would focus more on coming here with that money to actually meet investors and speak to them about investing in my business over there. That's
thank you very much, Stanley. I still have a lot of questions about 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, it's fine. We can go.
Yeah, somebody still is asking if they can register a company here to apply, you know, from 𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏. But I think
𝗙𝗂𝗏𝗏 does not invest in the Netherlands, and that's the funny thing. We don't invest in the Netherlands. We invest directly in all the countries that we work in. So it doesn't make it. It's actually against you. It's sometimes against you unless you're multinational, because then it makes sense. But if you're a startup, why? The only reason to have a registration is if you have shareholders who want a registration here, or you have business partners from here. If not, please don't. You waste money, or you live here, for example.
Thank you very much, Stanley. So there's somebody else asking for a company that needs to set up an infrastructure with a target investment of 3 to 4 million. How much would you say the pre-startup investment would be? And let me say that this is really a specific question. It's very hard for Stanley also to just tell you this is how much you need, because it depends on how far you want to go before you get a bigger investment. Let me see if there's another question. No, actually not. I think, Duncan, you're asking about cosmetic industries and the funding possibilities. So I think we can address that later on a separate message.
What I can advise on that is that just look at Unilever's CSR programs, because if you look at Unilever, for example, it's a company that works in the FMCG space, and they work with a lot of cosmetics. And one of the main things is that they have sustainable related investment programs that help people that want to actually create this type of sustainable products and cosmetics and things like that. So have a look at them. And yet again, it comes back to our presentation. who are the people that will give money to something like this. They are all there. So University of Google, it works, I promise.
Yeah, I think I'll combine this question with my own question, because somebody is asking how long would a funding application in Triondo's take. But I would like you to mention, because Triondos do not invest in SMEs directly. You go through other financial institutions, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So maybe mention that, and if there are other your investees in Ghana that can help them, maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, I just want to quickly share this with you because we didn't get the opportunity to go through it, because it actually answers the question how long it takes for the investment process. And we didn't get through this because we ran out of time. But I mean, you know, for the first, you know, you have rolling application, you have rolling applications for 3 months, for example. So you have rolling application, but then when it comes to, once you've actually sent in an application to an organization, it takes about 3 months to actually move from sending them your application to actually them coming to do a due diligence in your company or going through your, Stanley, or going through your process. Now, it takes another 2 to 3 months before you even reach legal agreements on the investments, okay? So if you think about it, and I'm going to be transparent with you, it takes about 6 to 12 months. It takes about 6 to 12 months in order to actually complete an investment from start to finish. Unless you're going to a normal traditional bank where all they ask for is certain documents that you need, and that is much quicker. But when it comes to developmental institutions, it takes that long. So you also have that in your follow decks. But let me give you an example. If you know who to approach, what you're looking for, what type of funding those people give, it will take you about 1 month because you have done your homework. When people send applications, they expect the investor to do their homework by looking at the company and deciding, oh, okay, we can invest in you. No, that's why it takes so long. So just think about that.
Thank you very much, Stanley. And do you think any of the investee companies from do you think any of the banks or financial institutions in Ghana could make direct investment into the SMEs that's from the diaspora?
Yeah, you know, the thing is that those banks actually, their main purpose is to make direct SME investment into SMEs. That's why we support them. We unfortunately cannot make direct investment into SMEs because of the mere fact that we don't have local offices. So we need a local financial institution who will actually distribute the money for us. And that's why we put the money in banks. So indirectly, we want to invest in SMEs, but we cannot do it. For example, I'll give you an example. In Ghana, if you look at Ghana, we've invested in companies called Advanced Ghana. We've invested in companies called, oh my word, my cousin is on the webinar. Nana, say welcome. Sorry, I thought I just saw a photo pop out, but sorry to distract. But if you look at Ghana, we've invested in companies called Advanced Ghana. We've invested in companies called Bond Savings and Loans. And those are the type of companies that profess to provide SMEs with money. So that's how our investments actually work.
Stanley, I think we are moving towards the end of our webinar. I had one more question about various forms of investment, but that's very different in the session. We are going to share with you after this. So I am going to conclude by saying, well, I think it's very clear first is identify, how much money we need, who is going to fund us, are they able to find the kind of, or the amount of money that we need? Are we looking at what we have now and projecting into the future? And are we ready for the investment? So it is a journey, and like Stanley said, we really need to do our homework. Trying to also Google works very well. So if you want funding from maybe Circle, for example, you have to do your homework. You have to go to their website. You have to try and look what are their, requirements before even you approach. So I think I'm going to finish now, and I will give Doreen a chance to give both of them. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Frieda. Thanks, Stanley. I think it was a very interesting presentation, and I think people would have liked to even receive a bit more, but I'm sure everybody can read it in silence tonight. And I think if you agree, if they would have any additional questions, maybe we can liaise them up to you. Would you agree, Stanley, if we share your email address, if they would have any specific questions?
Can I not agree? No, of course.
No, you cannot agree, of course.
Of course. Please feel free. One of the men, I am one of the biggest believer that the diasporas are the last missing piece to development. And so I'm more than happy to help any diaspora who is, willing to also take up that challenge. So please feel free.
Yes. Okay, so this was the first webinar today. I think we had a little bit of a challenge to get started, but I hope it was worthwhile for everyone. So next week we'll be back with somebody on subsidies, and then another person talking on, again, on investor readiness. But you can find more information on our website, connectingdiaspora.org, and you can register again for next week. Next week will be on Wednesday from 3 to 4:30 again. So yes, hope to see you next week, and we'll follow up by email with every supporting document so you can read through a little bit of everything that has been said. We've also recorded the meeting. I see some people just joined now. It's a pity that that you're joining us when we're having the closing words, but I think maybe people are in different time zones and they did not understand very well when we started. Toon, would you like to say a last few words to the group?
And let's take a picture as well.
Okay. So let's try to take a print screen. We cannot see everyone, but please don't put your finger in your nose. We'll try to we'll try to take a nice picture. So 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Dorothy, your man is on the picture.
Yeah.
So Toon, did you want to say something else to the group?
No, it was lovely to have you here. It's great to see you again. And Stanley, was very nice listening to your story. Great. Stanley, you have to put on your mic.
Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up, and for Stanley, for agreeing yourself to come over, for Doreen, for really dedicating, and this goes to IOM, for putting up such good programs in partnership with private sector like 𝗙𝗵. And of course, thank you, Toon, for always being a good teacher to this group. And thank you, entrepreneurs. And we hope to see you next week. Thank you very much.
See you next week. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.